I discovered my partner was covertly meeting their former flame while living off my earnings, so I devised a discreet plan. What followed left their world in ruins. Here's how it unfolded. I'm a 31-year-old financial consultant based in Manhattan, with nearly 10 years in the industry. My job isn't thrilling, but it's lucrative, allowing me to indulge those I care about. For 3 years, I was with Claire, a 29-year-old aspiring lifestyle influencer. When we met, she had a small Instagram following, around 4,000, and shared a mix of fashion snaps, self-portraits, and quotes about ambition. Her passion was infectious, and I was drawn to her determination. I wanted to support her dreams. Initially, my gestures were modest. Dinners at upscale spots, gifts like bags she couldn't afford, or helping style her photo shoots. Her joy seemed authentic, and it felt good to contribute to her goals. But over time, her demands escalated. She needed high-end outfits to refine her image, professional photography to grow her brand, and then came the trips. She claimed visiting chic destinations would help her connect with sponsors. I saw it as an investment in her future, and ours. Claire wasn't unappreciative. She'd post sweet captions or offer warm thanks, but her gratitude started feeling mechanical, like a prelude to another request. The breaking point was a trip to Miami. I funded everything, believing she'd use it to network. Instead, she spent her days posing for photos and relaxing by the beach. When I cautiously asked about her efforts, she brushed me off. "You don't get how this industry works." For the first time, I questioned whether I was being taken advantage of. Our 3rd anniversary was the final straw. I planned a luxurious escape to the Hamptons, but Claire insisted on a different seaside town, claiming it was more authentic. I reluctantly agreed. The trip began well, but during dinner, she suddenly brought up marriage. "We've been together 3 years, she said, swirling her wine. "Isn't it time we plan our future?" Her voice was soft, but her gaze was sharp. When I mentioned a prenup, her demeanor turned cold. "Wow, you think I'd use you?" The next day, she was distant, tossing out remarks like, "This place is perfect for someone who values it." Something felt wrong. On the 3rd day, she said she was going shopping alone. Hours passed with no word. I checked our joint credit card, no charges. Suspicious, I went searching and found her at the pier with Ethan, her ex. They were laughing, her hand resting on his arm, oblivious to me nearby. I overheard enough to confirm my fears. She'd orchestrated this trip to reconnect with him. I snapped photos for proof and left. When Claire returned, she lied about her day, even showing me a shopping bag I knew she hadn't bought. I played along, waiting for the right moment. The next morning, I left early, canceling her return flight and extending her hotel stay at her cost. I left a note. "Enjoy your extended getaway. Say hello to Ethan." Her texts poured in confusion, then anger, then pleas. I ignored them. Back home, I blocked her and shared the truth with close friends. Claire's carefully built image collapsed without my support. Her Instagram traction tanked, and Ethan disappeared. Weeks later, she appeared at my door, disheveled and tearful, begging for another chance. "I was foolish," she cried. I shut the door, feeling only relief. Claire tried to spin herself as the victim online, but her audience wasn't fooled. She eventually moved back with her parents, rebranding as a wellness guide. Meanwhile, I rebooked the Hamptons trip for myself. It was flawless. Therapy helped me unpack the experience, teaching me to set boundaries and spot warning signs. Claire faced the consequences of her actions, and I took back my life. Months passed, and life without Claire was calmer, better. I threw myself into work, rekindled old friendships, and started biking, a hobby I'd always wanted to try. Updates about Claire came through mutual friends. Emma, always reliable, kept me in the loop. "She's selling her designer stuff online," she texted, attaching a screenshot of Claire's resale page. The prices were absurd and the comments were harsh. "Isn't this the purse your ex got you?" one user wrote. Another added, "From influencer to online vendor, quite the downgrade." I didn't gloat, but it felt like justice. One night, my phone pinged with a text from an unknown number. "Can we meet? It's urgent." The tone was desperate, unmistakably Claire. I deleted it without replying. A week later, Emma sent me Claire's latest Instagram post, a lengthy caption about growth and mistakes paired with a dim selfie. Her followers had dwindled and engagement was abysmal. Comments ranged from pity to sarcasm. "Maybe try a regular job." I shook my head and closed the app. Some people never learn. With Claire behind me, I made changes. I sold my apartment, too many memories, and moved to a quieter area. I adopted a lively golden retriever named Cooper, who became my best buddy. One weekend, while walking Cooper in the park, I bumped into an old college friend, Julia. We'd lost touch, but she hadn't changed, warm, witty, and effortlessly confident, unlike Claire's manufactured charm. "Long time," she said, petting Cooper. "Heard about your drama." "You okay?" "Better than ever," I replied, and I meant it. Coffee turned into dinner, then a routine. Julia was different, authentic, self-sufficient, and uninterested in my wallet. She had her own career and passions. It was refreshing. Months later, Emma sent me a link to Claire's crowdfunding page. "Help me launch my dream venture." It spun a tale of betrayal and redemption, aiming for $50,000. She'd raised $412. I didn't contribute. Meanwhile, Julia and I revisited the Hamptons. This time it was perfect. No lies, just good food, great company, and the sea air. As the sun set, Julia nudged me. "You're smiling." "I've got plenty to smile about," I said, and I did. Claire's crowdfunding flopped. Last I heard, she was working retail at a modest boutique far from her influencer aspirations. Ethan had moved on to someone wealthier, per Emma. As for me, I was happier than ever. Julia and I were discussing moving in together, and Cooper approved. Sometimes fate handles justice perfectly. 2 years later, I stood on the deck of a quaint beach house, watching the sunrise with Julia. The wounds from Claire had long healed, replaced by a peace I hadn't thought possible. One Tuesday, Emma sent a link to Claire's latest Instagram post, a wedding announcement. She was marrying a middle-aged property investor, her smile camera-ready. The caption preached about finding true love and how wealth isn't everything. The irony was glaring. Emma's text summed it up. "Hope he's got a tight prenup." I chuckled, showing Julia, who smirked. "Some people are just predictable," she said, squeezing my hand. That night, scrolling through my photos, Cooper napping, Julia laughing at a bad film, us biking in the hills, I realized Claire's story no longer mattered. Not anger, not pity, just nothing. That was my greatest triumph. Months later, Julia and I adopted a second dog, a playful mutt named Stella. Claire's wedding hit the local news, but I skipped the article. I'd stopped tracking her. Life's too short for that.